Hi guys, this is what I'm doing. So basically I made this shape out of two pieces. One half here and the other half there. You can see where I ground. There's a little pucker right there. I'll have to run over it with the TIG. I did run over this one with the TIG on the inside. You can see there's a couple of gaps. Anyway, then I welded it together and then I bead rolled it. It's not a, this edge isn't perfect. This edge will get cut, but you'll see the bead actually follows this. I put the roller skate on and the knife edge, and created a pucker so that this goes out from a square and rounded area to a rounded opening. And so now I'm in the process of moving the material as I TIG weld across, just clamping in different spots. I got this done. Okay, you can see that's the cutout for but that is flush. And this is not. So I'm going to weld this and then slowly move this material back into here. I worked out to about halfway. Now I'm going to work in and keep moving the material as I go. And so that bead then comes in and circles around. I did the same thing on this side. And again, there is work to do, but I will get her finished out. Like I was saying earlier, this is probably going to need a little bit of body work. You can't dolly worth of crap inside of here because you just can't get inside of there. But that's what I'm working on at the moment to build out that engine cover. See, this has got a stretch. This is offset to this. This is the edge. So this is all going to pull a little bit on this side. But I got the shape. I worked myself to a shape that fit. Then, of course, when I stretched this, it moved it a little bit out of shape. You know, I'm just working it around into the piece. So penetration is really good. I did not obviously TIG it from the inside, but I got 100% penetration all the way around, and that's what I'm after, so that I can just basically clean up the inside, clean up the outside, and finish up this doggone engine cover. That's not one to videotape. Yeah, you saw me struggle with the TIG. My wife stopped in and thought it'd be a good opportunity just to get a photo of me in action. Struggling, sticking and struggling. Now you can see clearly we've got some tinging and banging we need to do. I just test fitted on there. Got a lot of tapping in the top. But I just basically hit it with knocked off the welds. And I'm getting it kind of dialed in. This area here immediately turns. I got to make this look a little more presentable. The top looks pretty presentable other than it's wavy. You know, I gotta dolly all that out. Trim a little bit off the front. I'll pull it off here. And so you can see bring it over and set it down, you can see that, you know, I've got some work to do. I got to dolly all this out and keep sanding. Get in here with the smaller wheels and grind all that out. You can, it's dished in here and here, but high here. There's the weld seam. This was never, you know, this is real close here and it's farther here. This will all be trimmed where I'll have a little bit of a relief on it, but it is all welded up, and I just have a lot of cleanup to do. Then I got to get in and with the barrel disc and clean up the inside. And my goal for the day was to, I think I'll just work on the engine cover, and I'll just quick whip it up and get it into some sort of self-etching primer or something like that, but that is not the case. I've got a significant amount of room in time that I've got to carve out to get it done. But I'm liking it. I like how that returns and goes back. It's continuous all the way around. Same operation here. Probably get, you know, I'll put like Hemi or something in that with a sticker. But yeah, I'm starting to dig it. So we'll keep on working on this and get a couple more videos in it. Plus I want to do something with the top because I don't like, the fit's okay. Once I get it, I'm starting to get it flattened out. You know, got to run a straight edge across it. But the doggone, this thing necks in on both sides. So I don't know at this point what I'm going to do yet, but I do like that look. I'm going to keep that look. So I've come up with a couple different ideas. If I TIG on a piece of small bar all the way around here, and then sit and grind and grind and grind. But I mean, if I do that, then it actually recesses in, but then I can follow the profile of this thing very closely. I rolled a bead in there, but I did not realize that this necked on either side. The other thing I could do is taper this a little bit because, well, it's all the way down there, but it's just there. So I could chamfer this edge. I got plenty of material where I could just chamfer this a little bit all the way around, and that might work too because I've already got that step in there. So I don't know what I'm going to do at this point yet with that. I'm going to focus on getting this done, and then the whole cap, you know, this whole cap is done, and I can get once I finish the metal work, get him in primer. So there we have the beginnings of the end of the engine cover. Well, I've been tinking away on it. You can see a couple of, where the weld is. There's a little spot there. Transition's good. This goes from here to a twist there, and it is just, and it does neck up. If you look, see, it comes down and necks up. Got there. Ground the whole inside. And just tinked and tinked and tinked and tinked and tinked. But I'm starting to like it now. So we're getting into the neighborhood. I think what I'm going to do now is probably go in and sandblast the whole thing. And then I'm just going to skim coat it. I probably could, realistically, I probably could sandblast it and hit it with a self-etching, or pardon me, surfacer. I just am afraid. I think I'm just going to hit it with a little Bondo and then block it and probably continue to tink it until I get a profile that I like. So right now I'll take a piece of 1/4-inch fine line tape, something like that, 1/4, 3/8, 5/16, whatever, fine line tape, wrap around there and cut that, finish that nose off. But she is near completion. Oh, and then of course I got to do that. So I'm not going to sandblast it yet until I forgot all about that. Okay, so now I've got the engine stand welded up, sanded and tinged. You know, what I'll call as best as I could. Blended the corners as best as I could. Okay. And so now I want to cover up all of this kind of stuff where there's a weld edge. You know, where there's a weld edge in it. So I fingered all the way around the corner. I got back in here and around, you know, where these edges were welded. I sectioned in, I think, down in here and in there. I ground all my welds. I don't know if this was continuous. Somewhere in here. And I think the same thing in here. And so now I'm going to clean out the cable routes. And now I'm just kind of scratching it. The top, that's where the most work was done, and that's the most visible spot on this. As you know, it was perimeter welded. And then there was a seam. This folded down, and there's a weld seam here, down, and a weld seam there. But she's scratching out just dandy. That's one application. Just skim coated it, hit it with 36 grit, and then with 80 grit. I'll hit it with the DA later. There is not a lot of material here. Now, if you remember some time ago, these hourglassed, or no, what did I do? These bowed out because these hourglassed down the edge slightly. I put a straight edge on it, and although they do, it's freaking immeasurable. I mean, I put a straight edge on it, and you can see light in the middle. So the intent here was to straighten these out, or more appropriately, get these to match this better. So what I did is I just took my MIG and I tack welded a bead across here and a bead across here in the affected areas. Now again, this is the first blocking, and that's where the bead ends, and you can see that I overcut that corner and there. So there is going to be a little bit of fill right there and a little bit of fill right there. When you look down, you can see those are the tacks, and there's fill packed in on the bottom a little bit, you know, because I didn't try to tack into the corner to redress the edge. Same thing there. Okay. But when it comes to single-handedly putting this on, oh, pardon me, and I buffed and tapered that all the way around. Let me get down on it. So I cut this edge back. This was originally straight down. I cut it. So again, this is just 80 grit on that. And then going in, and there's magic marker on it for marking, you know, for what I was doing to mark that out. And so when this sets on straight, that's the cool thing, is that as soon as you line it up with the deal, it just turned out really nice. So it's stellar. I mean, I'm proud of it. I'm very, very proud of it. That looks just wonderful. And it drops in, self-centers, and voila. So I'm going to finish, I'll have to get in here with a material. I'll finish sanding this. I'll get in here with material. This blocks out pretty good, but there are low spots. Those are low spots. I blocked across it. There's a low spot. So I'm going to progressively work my way around this just to get her cleaned up, and then hit it with surfacer, primer surfacer, and call this thing ready to go. Then I'll put it away for a year because that's how long it's going to be. I'll keep on going. Well, there's in the morning, apply some mud. In the evening, sand some mud. This trick worked really well for getting down into those radiuses, because you could block this direction, and you get it all out of there. So I hand sanded it now with 180. This is all 80. Of course, I blocked the top out with 36, but then slowly work my way around. It's really coming out nice. There's a few more spots. We got one right here. It's a low spot where the weld seam was. You can see a couple of these. Some of that may fill with surfacer, but I mean, as long as I'm going around it, I just as well start hitting those now with, I did use that lacquer based up here just to get rid of sand scratches and stuff. But realistically, I need to start using glazing putty. Just because it's easy to sand, and it doesn't give you any problems with dishing and stuff. Now this feels really good. This might be a little high, but I really think this feels good up here, but it might be high here. But if I get enough, this I know is high. Well, not much. This feels good. This I can feel that. So I'll probably start with finishing up all the glazing, and then taking and hitting it with a couple of coats, at least 2, maybe 3 coats of surfacer. And then I'll come back and I'll block the whole thing out, and where I start to explode, and I'll block it with like something like this, something with some length to it, so I can get a good strong length on it, and then take another look at it and see. These turned out good. They did not take a lot of filler, but when you're sanding into that dish, it takes a high level of concentration to keep these edges sharp, right? All the way around. So we'll see how she turns out. I mean, I know I can get there, but we'll have to get some of that primer on. Anyway, and top of course, with welding in those seams, that turned out nice and tight. It fits just really dandy around the top. So coming along great. Righty then. 2 coats of surfacer, preceded by a coat of a self-etching primer, on the bare metal, which was most of it. So it turned out really good. You can see my little cup sitting right there. And as we narrow in, yeah, I have sags, but I found pinholes, and what do you call that, where you sand and you see the edge of the mud. You know, in this area there's mud. Well, actually on this corner there's mud because this is a weld. These turned out good, but I did pile into there too. I piled it up pretty good, but then I dabbed. I let it just flash a little bit, and then I just took a brush, a little paint brush or a little, you know what I mean, touch-up brush or a little goofy little brush, and just dabbed. And then I'll come back now. This has got to cure. Probably even just set it out because it's going to be a cooker today. And let it cure good and hard. Can says 2 hours to sand, but as those of us that have used this primer surfacer, it's a urethane surfacer, high build primer. If you don't let it sit for a long time, it's gonna shrink. So at this point, I am just trying to get it finish the shape, right? Finish the shape. If it needs a few more coats or another coat or two, I'll give it another coat or two. I'll get it all the way to block, and then I'm done. Then that guy's gonna sit for a long time. So whether I block the second coat, I want to get it so that I can't see any imperfections. Maybe that's how I should be saying this, so that I can't see the imperfections. and then let that cure, and then final block it after it's fully shrunk, which is typically a couple of weeks, as a rule of thumb. So that's where it's at. Next phase, then again, to reiterate, the next phase is to block this down. I'll probably go with 180 grit to start and block it down to, no finer than 220, because, unless it turns out perfect, but, I don't know. I doubt it. I'm sure I'm going to have cut throughs all over the place. So I'll block it. If it needs a recoat, then I'll block it. I won't block it, but I will. If I get this done, let me restate. I'll start with 180, maybe get to 220, depending on how it looks. If it looks great, I'll block it to 220. If I have a few cut throughs, I'm not going to get overly alarmed. Hit those, if they're direct to metal cut throughs, hit those with a little self etch, and then squirt it with the surfacer again, and keep going. Then when she coats completely and looks smooth and I don't see any pinholes, then I leave him set for 2 weeks and then come back and block him out to 400. So get it ready for sealer. It won't get sealed and painted in the near future, because I intend on painting the pan, oil pan, the valve covers, etc., all the things that will be the color that I choose for this. So near the end of this project, and then we'll begin back on this project. Okay, there it is. We can see a shadow. Oh, that's the sun. It's supposed to get up to like 90 today, so we're just going to let that guy heat up and cook. Okay, man. As you know, getting things in and getting them looking spectacular does take time. But that turned out spectacular. However, I still, this is just sprayed. See those undercuts right there? I got to get into those, make sure I clean those up. There's looks like a little bit of a low spot right there. I did have some, from the self-etching primer, I did have some peel back, so I took it out and sanded, and there you can see an edge right there. Little tiny pinholes. It's hard in this. You see that shadow edge right there? Maybe even a little blistering. That's going to take some time. And I use this self-etching. I cleaned underneath the, I scraped it out. I actually took a razor and scraped it out. It was so frustrating because it solvent popped, and I followed the instructions, but I think where that self-etching gets on top of the mud, you know, where you've got a little bit of filler, it soaks into the filler and doesn't maybe doesn't fully cure. I don't know precisely what it is, but it is a Motherfucker. And this side profiles really well, but you can see some pinhole there, in there, and then there's a little bit up there. Much of that'll block down dirt. That's not bubbles, that's dirt. Oh, and I just have to clean up this edge. It cleans up good down here. This has to be radius just a little bit more. You can see the light line. Oops, now I touched it. Well, it's not that wet. This has to be radius a little more. I think I've just got a pretty good build up on there. You can see from there to about here. So I just got to clean that out up. This turned out, the snout turned out really good all the way around. So right now I have one, two. I put 2 coats on. I think that's the last video. Came back and I had some that blistering or lifting. Cleaned all that up and then just flipped it over actually. And because it was so lightly sprayed on the bottom that I sprayed the bottom. That's what I did. And I tried to get, because I had this flipped over but raised up, I had some clearance, so I just hit this line. Then I blocked the whole thing out or started with 80 just to take off any of the goofy edges, and then basically blocked it out with 180 again. And then came back and shot it here now with 2 coats again. So, however, the first coat I blocked down, you know, basically used it as a surfacer, as its intention as surfacer, but I blocked it down. Probably 50% of that was metal. I wish I would have got a video before I sprayed it, but I'm pushing the clock pretty good this morning. I woke up a little bit later, and I got to get off to work. So, at this stage now, I'll try to get it cleaned up. I'm nearing a weekend. Today is a Thursday, and so I've got tomorrow morning, but then tomorrow evening, where I can hopefully take this to looking like this, only no pinholes, you know, straight. All the radiuses look good in the light, you know, all the corners, everything looks beautiful in the light. And then set it aside and let it just move on to other things. But it's these projects like this, these kinds of things, holy cow, they're not a quick and dirty. Every time you have aspirations of everything going perfectly well, you got, like, as an example, I've been spraying for a while. I mean, I know how to use a gun, but for whatever reason this morning, I got the gun filled, one thing after the other, thinking, moving too fast. I didn't test spray the gun. I didn't squirt it before I came over here. And I just started spraying. Well, needless to say, there was shit in the gun. And I'm sorry, contamination in the gun, for those of you that don't like the word shit. Just anyway, such is life. I didn't stop. I didn't wait till it cured. I just sprayed it because obviously with the pinholes, I noticed these pinholes and that right away. So I just kept going because I know I'm going to have to put down another coat or two, 1 or 2 coats before it's ready for sealer. So hey, we're going to go and there you go. I sound like Joe. Anyway, moving right along. All right, it's the evening following the morning or the last video. So I started blocking it out. It's actually really coming along quite well. I'm running around with a pencil. There we go. Oh, look at that. And as I show the video, where is that? Right? Where is that? Right there. Oh, I haven't sanded these yet. Yeah, I don't want to mark an area that I'm going to wind up sanding off. Sanded it all the way around. don't know if you remember I said I had some solvent popping. But I set it down to that, and that left the crack. That had been peeled back, and I fixed that. A couple of gashes. Up in here, as I'm blocking, using a 6-inch. I'm not cutting through to the primer, and I have a couple of holes there, so I'm thinking I can just probably dust this area a little bit. I'm getting almost there, but I just need a little more build on that. I had some solvent popping. Let it break him out. Everything here came around nice. Very nice, sanded out very nice. I still have the bead to sand. I'm waiting on that. I haven't circled that because, again, I haven't done the bead. That'll get circled. There's a couple there. This is just turning out just darling. I can get in there. Looks like I can, with the camera. Looks like I can get in there a little bit and clean that, get that little straighter, or a little, the valley looks like it's plugged in certain spots. The radiuses came back really, really nice. Both sides came back really nice. I just sanded out to here. I still need to finish off. You can see that's unsanded all the way around. You can see it's a little low here, but I cut through. So I'm going to take this and probably just taper this just a little bit so it rolls back. It needs to look like sheet metal because that's what it is. But I'm getting there. Little tiny cut throughs. Can't feel them at all. So I'll fill the pinholes. I'll finish sanding, fill the pinholes. And really, I don't know, one coat. Maybe I'll dust that, let it flash. Maybe dust it again, let it flash. And then put a coat on. I'll probably go to a 1/4, 1/8 tip instead of a heavy tip, so I can get it to lay down, maybe even reduce it just a little bit so I can get it to lay down. But it is getting to where I want it to get. We're making it. Okay, it's the next morning now. I got about an hour and a half into it. And all the pinholes, those aren't pinholes. Those are that first spray. Everything really finished sanded out wonderful. I still have this. This is the last time I put this coat on in this hole. What you see with the pencil marks. I completely forgot about that in the first round. And that. And so when I did comb across the top here, blocked it down. I was cutting through, but you see you got a nice, 3/4 of an inch, right? Fan out. And you can't feel anything. I took the liberty to go ahead, and I got a little bend here, but I took, that's easy to take out, it's just tin, but I took the liberty to get in and straighten all this inside radius out. The filter went into there, but it snagged on the way because I never really finished cutting this out. So now I did. I still have some sanding. That's just from, just took the grinding wheel and just a stone, whatever it is, 3/8, 1/4 of an inch thick stone, and marked it off. I used a divider. Found the thinnest spot and then marked it all the way around. Cleaned that up. Should have done that a long time ago, but I didn't. Straightened out the channel. I didn't have to add any material, but I just straightened it out by blocking it. There was enough primer on there. And so I'll finish sanding those 3 or 4 areas, and then tonight I'll blow it with it's what looks to be its last coat of surfacer, it's probably going to need one. You know, maybe I'll put two light coats on, put two coats on with a finer gun. That's kind of what I was thinking. I think I mentioned that yesterday. Just to get it to lay down, maybe even reduce it a little bit, and then he can sit and shrink and get ready for blocking at the final stages, you know, blocking for sealer, you know, 400, 600 grit, you know, and just getting it ready for sealer. So very happy with it. Everything fits great. All right, Friday evening. It's all blocked out. The lines flow well. Filled areas flow well. That rounded edge looks really good. Now granted, I mean, it's really hard to get into a video, and I do want everybody to see. I don't have a problem with showing the work, because I'll just keep on going till it looks like something I like. But oh, maybe right there you can catch a little hue of the texture. Now this stuff, I used a paint gun, 1.4 in this case. Turned the air to about 40. Yeah, 40 psi. Had to look over at the regulator. To 40 psi, and put down 2 light coats. I'm very, very happy with it. So this is done for now. This is done till it needs to be blocked out, sealed, and you know, whatever detail. Like the inside here will all be painted black. I'll sand all that, paint it black so it's a smooth surface. I'm thinking on the bottom side here, down underneath, that'll be, I'll probably do that black box liner, that rubber urethane. Same stuff as I got in here. It's like a box liner, right? If you remember back like 60 videos, you can see that. But because I'm thinking that I'll get a, you know, first off, I'll have really tough gas or whatever, fume resistant surface. But the second thing is that it'll, with a little rubber textured surface on the bottom, that's just the side that's showing the engine. Maybe just a little sound deadening, you know. And of course, black, so it doesn't do any reflecting of the hoses and the things that are underneath. These just sit right over the fuel injection rails. Just, you see those just sticking out the side. So that was a fun project. Laborious, but fun. So this guy goes in for sitting on the shelf for a little while now. Hey, and like always, like, subscribe, comment. Give me your 2 cents. Give me your 2 cents. Again, like I said just moments ago, this was a fun project, and getting your insights on how you do it. You can't see the back where the getting your insights on how you do it and things you would have done different. None of that bothers me. I like to listen to what other people have to say. But that's a one-off engine cover with a 4-inch air cleaner for a 331 Hemi. Fuel injected.